So that's the difference between present perfect progressive and present perfect. So when I say that she has been writing articles since 2000, or she has written many articles, in this case, I don't give any period of time. She has written articles, that's it. And this is an action in progress. So she started in the past, she continues now, but she hasn't finished, right? So it's a tiny difference, but it is a difference. So Maritza, read the last two sentences.
Okay. She's been working in Kenya for a year. She's
Again,
worked in many countries.
very good. So what is the meaning of this? She's still in Kenya, or she's still working, or she's not?
Yes,
Yes, she's still working. It's an action
she's
in progress.
still working in Kenya.
Very good. And she's worked in many countries. It's a life experience. She's worked in many countries. If you don't mention anything about time. Oh, please, Karen, could you repeat this first part?
Okay, the present perfect progressive and the present perfect usually have different meanings. Use the present perfect progressive to show that something is unfinished. It started in the past and is still continuing. The focus is on the continuation of the action.
Very good. So the focus is that this action is still in progress. That's what is important. So I've been reading a book about solar energy. Means that at the moment you are reading that book, you haven't finished that. She's been writing an article and she's still writing the article, right? So it's not about a life experience. It's about something that you started in the past and you're still doing this in the present. You can use, of course, the present progressive also, right? But we also have this structure that's very important to know. Could you read this part, please, Karen? This part kind of use the present perfect. And Karen, are you there?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
I have to read this.
Yes, use the present perfect, this part.
Okay. Use the present perfect to show that something is finished. It happened and at an indefinite time in the past. The focus is on the result of the action.
Very good. So one, the focus is on the continuation of the action. What you want to say is the person started something in the past and the action is in progress. And in here, doesn't matter, it's the result of the action. So I've read a book about solar energy. You are not reading the book anymore, but you have read that book, right? So she has written an article and she has finished the article. Maybe she will write in the future, but for now she has finished. So that's the main difference. So could you read please, I think Maritza, this part, the usage note.
Okay. We also use the present perfect progressive for finished actions that end in the very recent past. You can often still see the results of the actions of the action.
So look, the streets are wet. It's been raining.
Okay.
And it's so similar to Spanish. Está lloviendo. So that's also something that a situation when you can use the present perfect progressive. Usually you don't use non-action verbs. So there is a list of non-action verbs. Non-action verbs are verbs that you cannot use with ing. For example, the verb be, the verb have when it means possession. Has another meanings like having a good time, but in this case it's not possession. When it's about possession, no, you won't say knowing, right? Or needing, or wanting. These verbs are non-action verbs, and therefore you cannot use it for present progressive, past progressive, or any other progressive form. So let's go with this part now. Could you please, Scarlett, read this part?
Okay. Use the present perfect progressive with for plus time expression to show how long something has been happening.
Very good. So I've been reading books about wind energy for 2 months, and you are still reading. So when you want to set any period of time, it's kind of indefinite. You don't mention any specific date. When you mention specific time, you have to use simple past, but in this case, you can use for 2 months, right? And you can also use, and in this case, you can use the present perfect with a quantifier or number to show how much someone has done, how many things someone has done, and how many times, right? Could you read, please, Karen, the examples about this?
I've read a lot about it. She's writing 3 articles. I've read that book twice.
Very good. Something important. The verb read in present is read, and in past or past participle is pronounced as the color red. I've read that book twice. She's written 3 articles. Very good. And the last part, please, Marisa. Please be careful.
Do not use the present perfect with a specific time in the past. The only exception is with since. Example, she's read 3 articles. Not she's read 3 articles last week. She's read 3 articles since last week.
Very good. So remember that in this case, she's, right? But means she has. It's the contraction of has. So she has read 3 articles. But you cannot say she has read 3 articles last week, or she has read 3 articles 2 days ago. No. The only exception is since. When you use since, then it's okay to use that. Okay, let me see if that's all. Yeah, that's the last part. Could you please, Scarlett, read this part before we go to the exercises?
Okay, with verbs that show durations such as live, study, teach, and work, you can use the present perfect progressive of the present perfect with for or since. The meaning is the same. Something is unfinished.
So in this case, the meaning is quite similar, and you can use any of those, right? He's been studying global warming for 10 years. He studied global warming for 10 years. And that's quite the same. In this case, for you can use it with present perfect progressive or with present perfect, and there are not many differences in meaning.
For example, if I said, I have lived in Guayaquil since I was a child, or I can say I have been living in Guayaquil
since I was a child.
It's the same meaning.
It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. There are no changes.
I think that the difference is when we use a verb, action verb. No?
right? So these are also action verbs. These are also action verbs. But these
Okay.
verbs refers to a period. You can use these verbs with a period of time. Living,
Okay.
studying, teaching, working. All these for or since, you can use it with a period of time. And when you use these verbs that usually we use to talk about some period of time, then you can use the present perfect progressive or the present perfect in exactly the same way. But we have the examples. We are not going to finish this topic today, but next week. And then we are going to have examples, and you need to write also using the present perfect progressive. And could you please, Karen, read this part?
We often use the present perfect progressive to show that something is temporary. They've been living here since 1995, but they are moving next month.
Very good. So this is going to change in the near future. And then you don't use the present perfect, but you use the present perfect progressive because it's going to change, right? But they are moving next month. So then they won't continue living there. Scarlett, please, could you read this part, please?
Okay. We often use the present perfect to show that something is permanent. They've lived here since they were children, and they are not planning or moving.
Very
On
good.
moving.
They live here since they were children, right? When this situation maybe won't change in the near future, you don't need to use the present perfect progressive. So let's identify this before we go to a short conversation part of the class. So now we're going to see the difference is this is in progress, unfinished, and many times the present perfect is finished, right? It's finished. So I've been reading a book about global warming, unfinished, and still reading. Number 2, Scarlett.
I have read a book about global warming, finished.
Finished, and therefore you use present perfect. Number 3, please, Karen.
She's writing 2 magazine articles about air pollution.
She's written 2 magazine articles about air pollution. She has finished or not yet?
Finish.
Finished. Very good. That's why you don't use the progressive. Next, please, Scarlett. Number 4.
She's been waiting, yes, she's been waiting for some supplies. Finished. I don't know.
Unfinished. She's still waiting, right? She's still waiting, and maybe she will continue waiting.
Okay.
Next, Karen, number 5. Karen, for use number 5. Are you there? Okay. Number 5.
They live in Ontario since 2002.
So finished or unfinished?
Finished. Oh, no,
Finished.
no.
Or unfinished? What do you think?
Unfinished.
Unfinished, right? This is the situation when you have this verb, live, study, read. When you talk about a period of time, in this case, you could use the present perfect or the present perfect progressive. It means these 2 sentences have exactly the same meaning. They're not changes, right? So now let's take a look at the following exercise. Okay, in these cases, there are differences. And you have to choose what goes better, right? What matches better. So Green Earth Magazine has published Professor Owen third annual report. It has published. The situation is finished. The number 2, please, Karen, read the whole sentence and then tell me what's better.
Okay, Professor Owen is working on 2 articles for the next issue of Green Earth magazine. She has been writing, or she has written this article since Monday. She has been writing.
Very good, because she's still writing this, right? Number 3 is for you, Karen.
She has been about global warming many times. Has written.
Sorry, couldn't hear. What is the correct one? She has been writing or she has written?
Has been writing.
No, that's not the correct one. Because many times it means that you have do it already. You see? No one, not two, but many times. When you say she has been writing, it's in process. And you can say she has been writing about global warming since last week for 2 hours. And then you see, okay, it continues. But when you write many times, it means that she has finished everything. Number 4 is for you, Maritza.
Professor Owen has spoken at our school several times about climate change.
Very good. So he's not speaking at the moment, but he has done that activity several times. Number 5 is for you, Scarlett. Let me go up a little bit.
Okay. She has been speaking since 8 p.m. and she still has a lot more to tell us.
Very good. So it's in progress. Number 6, Karen. Karen, can you hear me? Okay, number 6.
Professor Owen has a lot of work to do. Lately, she has been studying.
Very good. She has been studying and she's learning about pollution, but she's been studying the use of solar energy. Very good. The number 7 for Maritza.
Okay, let me a minute, please. Okay, she was late for a meeting with the members of her group. When she arrived, they said, "At last, you're here. We've been waiting for you."
Very good. Like at last, we've been waiting for you. Okay, that's it. We're going to continue with this because there are more exercises next class. And now let's talk. Let's talk for some